We're thrilled to have you here today as we explore a topic that's central to living a meaningful life: courage. You're already showing courage by being here, choosing to show up for yourself, and taking another step on your journey towards self-discovery. Today, we're going to redefine what courage truly means and reveal why vulnerability is one of the greatest acts of bravery you can embrace. When you think of courage, what comes to mind? Many people picture warriors, leaders, or risk-takers, people who conquer fear by sheer force of will. But the truth is, courage comes in many forms, and one of the most profound is something we rarely associate with bravery: vulnerability. To be vulnerable is to show up as your true self, to express what you really think and feel, even when there's a risk of rejection, judgment, or misunderstanding. You see, vulnerability is often mistaken for weakness. We're taught that being tough means suppressing our emotions, pushing down our fears, and not letting anything get to us. But in reality, this suppression is the opposite of courage. It's like living in a fortress, locking away your authentic self behind thick walls. It may feel safe, but it's not strong. It's isolation. Suppressing emotions is not an act of strength. It's a coping mechanism rooted in fear. Think about it. How often do we brush off our real feelings because it's easier to say, "I'm fine," than to admit, "That hurt me," or to say, "It's whatever," instead of, "I was disappointed and hoped things would turn out differently"? Why do we do this? Because vulnerability makes us feel exposed, and being exposed makes us feel scared. So instead, we push down our emotions and pretend they don't exist. We're often conditioned to think that courage means not feeling anything: no fear, no shame, no sadness. But that's not courage. That's avoidance. True courage is facing your emotions, allowing yourself to feel them, and then expressing them authentically, even when it's uncomfortable. And that takes serious guts. Here's the irony. While vulnerability is perceived as weak, it's actually one of the strongest things you can do. It means showing up fully, even when you're unsure of the outcome. It's choosing to say, "This is who I am, and this is what I need," knowing that the response might not be what you hope for. It's being willing to let others see you, even if it means risking rejection or hurt. In fact, vulnerability is the foundation of connection, authenticity, and growth. It's what allows us to build meaningful relationships, develop trust, and ultimately live a life that feels real. But unfortunately, generations before us didn't always have the luxury to embrace vulnerability. For many, life was about survival, keeping a roof over their heads, food on the table, and making it through tough times. Emotions like fear, sadness, or shame were seen as distractions, weaknesses that could hinder survival. So what happened? Vulnerability became stigmatized. It was labeled as weak. But that was a misconception, a misunderstanding that has persisted for too long. Our ancestors did the best they could with what they had. They were often in survival mode, and when you're just trying to make it through the day, there's no room for emotional processing or deep self-reflection. Expressing emotions like sadness, fear, or shame was seen as dangerous, something that could break you if you gave it space. But we're not in survival mode anymore. We have the chance to do more than just survive. We have the opportunity to live fully, to honor our emotions, and to use them as tools for growth. By choosing to embrace vulnerability, we're not only healing ourselves, but we're also honoring our lineage, those who came before us and those who will come after. We're breaking the cycle of emotional suppression and creating a new legacy of courage and authenticity. Even today, many people shy away from vulnerability because they're scared of how others will perceive them. They label vulnerability as weakness, while failing to see that the true emotion they're feeling is fear. It's fear that keeps people from saying, "I'm scared, I'm hurt," or "I need help." And it's fear that stops us from leaning into the very thing that will set us free. Our primal instincts, the old lizard part of our brain that evolved to keep us safe, register vulnerability as a threat. It reacts to it the same way it would to a predator hiding in the bushes. But if courage means facing fear and doing it anyway, then vulnerability is one of the purest forms of strength. The bravest people are the ones who lean into fear, embrace their emotions, and show up as they are. Today, we want you to think about how vulnerability was modeled for you as a child. Did you grow up in a household where expressing emotions was encouraged, or was it discouraged? Were tears met with scolding or comfort? Did your family express affection openly, or was showing emotions seen as a weakness? These early experiences shape how we navigate our emotions as adults. Take a moment to reflect on your upbringing. How did your family handle emotions? Write down a few thoughts in a journal or in the notes section. Awareness is the first step toward change. Let's end today's session with a breathing exercise and a personal mantra. Take a deep breath in through your nose, filling your lungs. Hold it for a moment, and as you release that breath, repeat your mantra aloud. It doesn't have to be complex, something as simple as, "My strength lies in my honesty," or "I am brave enough to be vulnerable." Repeat it as you breathe in and out, feeling the words anchor into your heart. Vulnerability is not a sign of weakness. It's the ultimate act of courage. Choosing to be vulnerable is choosing to show up authentically, even when it's hard. So as you move through your day, challenge yourself to lean into vulnerability. Share how you're really feeling, express your needs, and let yourself be seen. This is how we build a life of meaning, connection, and true strength. Go out there and live with courage.